Hey guys, welcome back to Rentalpreneur Journeys. This is your host, Phil Kennard from Futurestay, and we have a special treat for you today. Mr. Josh Guest, who is just newly minted finalist for the Rentalpreneur of the Year Shorties Award. He's here to share his Rentalpreneur journey with us, and Josh is someone that I don't know very well, which is exciting for me because I'm going to get to learn his story in real time, just the same as you. Josh, thanks for taking the time to come on the pod today and tell all the fans of the Shorties worldwide why you should be the rental of the year. I'd love you to start us off by letting us know how you got into the STR industry.
Yeah, thank you anyway, Philip, for having me on the podcast. Looking forward to sharing my journey. So I got started about 6 years ago, and it was a bit by fluke actually. So basically, I was looking to get into property, and somebody had started a rent to service accommodation business, and basically they'd given up on it quite quickly. So they had 3 properties down in the south coast of England, so in Brighton, and I was having a discussion with them, and basically I took it over from them, bought it off them for an agreed fee, obviously like the furniture and the contracts, and then I basically gone into this industry which I didn't have a clue about, no automations or anything. Everything I just did manually at the time. So I used to send out like manual cleaning rotors. I'd manually block the calendars. I didn't know there's something called a channel manager to put the listings on and automate everything. So I just basically ran everything manually to start off with, and then started to listen to podcasts like this, join Facebook groups, speak to other peers in the industry, and learn from there. Started to learn to set up different softwares, and then I decided to. So I live like 4 hours away from Brighton, but I started to look in my local hometown of setting up other STR properties there, and then sort of started scaling from there.
It's such an amazing story, right? And this is something, Josh, I know you've experienced this too, and everyone that's listening. When you hear a rentalpreneur journey, someone that has built a successful business like Josh, right? Someone that's gone into technology like me, what the common denominator almost always is we didn't plan this. We kind of tripped over it or tripped into it. Either a challenge presented itself or an opportunity rose its head, and we took that leap, right, Josh? Like you found a friend or someone in your a colleague that had an opportunity, and you said, you know what, I'm going to go for it, right? You took something they were having trouble managing, they were having trouble turning a profit on, and what made you think that you were going to be able to be successful with it?
Yeah, so I just always wanted to run my own business or get into property at the time. And I'd done other small little sort of side hustle businesses. So I knew it was making a profit already. So he was already doing that. But I knew I could probably be a bit more innovative on setting up sort of the tech stack systems on it, to systemize it and obviously make it more streamlined, which then would make it even more profitable because I wouldn't need to be as involved in those 3 units at the time.
Got it. And since then, obviously you've continued on managing properties, but there are some other ways that you help out other people, other owners and hosts in the industry, right? You give guidance, you give structure, and so on. Tell me a little bit about how you've given back to the community.
Yeah, no. So I've done a bit of mentoring for other sort of clients getting started in the industry and helped them out over the years, for them starting in their STR businesses, and either just getting a couple of properties, or help them systemize uh, their uh, their management companies and scaled out more. So I mainly help people sort of from either 0 to 50 units scale and increase their portfolio and increase their efficiency and profitability of their business.
Yeah, and so that makes a ton of sense. And I think for me, when I think about, someone that makes a successful rentalpreneur, one of the key elements is the reality that we all know how hard it is. It's not just hard to get started, it's also hard to know what to do next, right? And someone that gives back to the community and mentors and figures out ways to help other people really follow the same path without making the mistakes that we've made is, I think, a really great rentalpreneur. What are some of the every entrepreneur has the war stories, right? The things that happened that didn't go according to plan. What's something that in your rentalpreneur journey, a setback, a challenge that you had that you were able to turn around and either turn that into a success or learn from to make sure never to do that thing again?
Yeah, sure. I'd probably say it's probably um, some of the horror stories and some of the properties that we've had. So when we first actually started with those properties that I took on in Brighton, literally, so the one thing I wouldn't recommend doing is the first properties you take on is 4 hours away from where you live. That's definitely one, and this kind of then aligns to the sort of full picture of the story. But after literally 2 weeks of taking on those properties, we had a plumbing issue in one of the showers, and this was a property that slept 8 people, and basically the shower trap was blocked. So we called out an emergency plumber, which obviously wasn't cheap anyway, but it was quite a simple job. But I couldn't get anyone else to go and fix it, and I couldn't go and fix it myself because I live 4 hours away. So the plumber went out. He somehow actually popped the shower trap off the shower. So then when they turned on the shower, obviously there was no shower trap for the water to go down, and the water just completely flooded and collapsed the ceiling below, which was into the landlord's wife's hair salon. So it was an absolute disaster start. And obviously this landlord had only met me once, agreed kind of obviously on like a bit of a handshake deal, because also this other person was passing it over to me. So there was like a trust. He didn't fully trust me to start off with.
Trust gap, let's say
Yeah,
there, right?
trust gap, exactly that. And then he was calling me up, obviously not too pleased. So I had to quickly whiz down to Brighton and find some builders to obviously fix the ceiling, all the joists and everything. We had to also had to move to guest elsewhere, and this was in the middle of high season as well. So to find another property suitable, we actually had to split them over 2 properties, so they weren't happy. It cost thousands of pounds within 24 hours. Managed to get it.
What would you do? What do you do to avoid that situation? Just live closer when you're first starting out until you have a team that you trust?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. Just the first properties, I'd always recommend people to do within an hour of where they live. So you can't exactly avoid the leak, but I could if it was the first few properties, I'd have probably met the plumber there, and I would have tested it personally afterwards. So
Right.
then you can obviously make sure it is all working correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that when your emergency plumber needs another emergency plumber, then you really have an emergency.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
That's an incredibly frustrating but great story, Josh. I mean, that's one of the classic nightmares, right, from like a 90s sitcom. Just crashing ceiling into the wife's hair salon. I'm imagining there's like a posh client sitting in the chair and the wall.
Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Obviously, that's the key
Oh,
thing.
let me have my imagination, man. Let me imagine it. No one's hurt, but I mean, I want to see the water, right? I want to see the water just.
Yeah.
I'm glad you survived that, but that's a great lesson, right?
Yes.
The reality is that no one can be all things within their short-term rental as a rentalpreneur. And so at the beginning, before you have a team that you trust, you got to do 2 things. One is you have to be able to be there to make those calls, to test those things out, right? You can't just trust sight unseen. And the other is you got to build a team that you trust.
Yes.
And people build trust by showing up and delivering. And so
Yep.
if you're not able to see that they can show up and deliver, your emergency plumber might need an emergency plumber.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
So wow, that's a tough one. So let's turn into a good story here, right? A good story here, a positive story. what we call at Futurestay the stay story. And the stay story is really the journey that the ideal guest goes on with the hospitality, the journey that they go on with you and your property, right? How they find you, how they get to your property, where are they coming from? Are they coming with their family? Why are they coming? How long do they stay, right? It's kind of like in the marketing world, what you call really a customer map, right? What is your stay story for your properties? I know you have many, but kind of maybe one of your favorite or your key demographics. Tell me the story of your customer.
Yeah, so one of our main demographics locally is actually more of the contractor market. So in that sort of demographic, you're looking for somebody just come in to stay for work, but they're looking for a comfortable property, spacious. So they're looking for somewhere where they can relax in the living room. They've got, so say for example, it could be three guys coming in a van. So three different bedrooms, separate bedrooms. Might have TVs in as well separately, so they can go and relax in there. Got a reasonable kitchen, so they can cook and use the cooking facilities. Have a good parking space because they always want to be able to park outside, so their vehicle feels safe and secure, especially if they've got lots of expensive tools or anything like that on the vehicle. And then, basically just having a suitable experience, so it's a home from home experience for the customer.
That's amazing, right? And the reality is a lot of people think, oh, I'm not in a vacation area. I'm
Yeah,
not in a traditional leisure area. Maybe I'm not in an urban downtown center. Why would anyone want to come stay in this property? Well, the reality is short-term rentals. One of the major advantages we have over hotels is that a short-term rental can be anywhere that a house is,
yeah,
really anywhere that a trailer can go almost these days with alternative accommodations and ADUs, right? And so, you're limited only by your ability to understand what the needs of your ideal guest in your area are going to be. If you took that same property and decorated it with Mickey Mouse ears and Disney World theme, that's not going to do well with your target customer, right? That's not the stay story they're looking for. They're looking for a great, comfortable place to stay where they feel like home and they can really do their best work on the job site the next day, come home and relax and kick back with the guys at the end of the show.
yes, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
just adding onto that, so we kind of have like three different avatars of customers. So either we've got the contractors, then we've got like the holiday lets people, which are normal STR people, obviously traveling, and then we've kind of got like a leisure market where they're people just coming to see like friends and family. So, and what I always recommend is if I go and speak to anyone else, so I always recommend people to go and get a flip chart, draw that person, and say exactly what that person would look like,
Mm.
how they're going to feel, what they're going to want, all of those different things, because there's a lot to think about when somebody is coming to a property. It's not just put beds in, put furniture in, and then somebody stays. It's all the little extra touches and the customer journey and their experience that they're going to have with you as soon as it goes from literally from them searching for the property to booking the property to staying at the property to then leaving, that whole journey. So it's just write all of that out around that character to try and then obviously you then target at least then 70% of that property towards that target market. You'll always still pick up those other different leisure. So if it's a contractor market, you might pick up leisure and holiday let people still, but it's good to try and target at least 70% of towards that clientele.
I like that rule that you're adding on to that, which is the concept of making sure that the reality is all of your guests are not going to always be your target market. There's going to be an off season, an on season,
Yeah,
and depending on if you only have one property or two properties, you may even change some elements of your listing and how you focus, depending on whether or not it's that 70% season,
yeah,
and or if it's
yeah,
not. Right? I love that idea. I mean, for me, a good example of someone not understanding their stay story for their ideal guest was, a couple years ago, I stayed at a absolutely gorgeous villa that we were doing a little retreat at, actually an industry retreat, short-term rental industry retreat. And so it was me and a bunch of other STR guys that ran different companies, some managers, some tech guys, et cetera. And I mean, this place had it all. It had a gourmet kitchen that put my kitchen at home, and I love to cook, it put my kitchen to shame. I mean, my kitchen would be embarrassed to be considered in the same breath as this kitchen. We were talking 10 burner, Wolf stove. I mean, those things got so hot you could probably melt a cast iron pan on them. You know what they didn't have? They didn't have any spatulas. There were no tools in this kitchen. They had pans, Le Creuset, high-end French pans, cutlery, but there were no tools, no tongs, no spatulas, nothing to actually cook with. And so it's like you did all the work, but you didn't actually put yourself in the shoes and say, like, I have everything to serve a great meal, but I can't actually cook in the kitchen,
Yep.
And so you have to do it's, you plan it, you think about it, you write it on the board, you map it out, and then you go live it.
Yep.
Go to your own property and be the guest. Be that guest. See how it feels to show up from the airport with the bag.
Yes.
Do you have a place to put the bag?
Yep.
No. Okay, well, hold on a second. We got to figure out a place to put the bag if that's the guest that's going to show up with the big bag, right? Do I have a place to charge my phone? Do I have a place to store my tools if I'm a contractor, right? That feels safe to me. And that's how you complete that stay story. So, I want to make sure I get to these two really important questions here before we're out of time, because I think you've had so much value to share, and I want to make sure everyone gets to hear your thoughts on these two things. One is, you've grown rapidly. How do you balance the growth of your STR and your business that you're building with, your personal life, your flexibility, your freedom? That's the reason why a lot of people get into short-term rentals in the first place, that freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing to me is building a team, and building the right team, obviously, so they can help take off some of that stress, and help you scale to the levels that you want to, quickly and correctly. One thing I definitely would say is, obviously, depending where you want to scale it to, and how quickly you want to get there. If obviously you want to scale bigger and quicker, it's still not a lifestyle business, as some that may call it. If obviously you want to go after rapid growth, then obviously then that's sacrifices that come with that. But obviously you can find more of a balance if you want to take it slowly. So I think that's one of the questions I actually always ask people when they're getting started in this industry. What is actually the big reason why you're doing it? And if one of the reasons is to have a bit more of a life balance, then let's then work backwards from there of how many units do you actually want? What income do you want to get to? And what's the reason that you're also doing it? So it can't also just be about money, because you need to be giving that experience to the customer. So because then that would also come with the money anyway. If you're delivering a good experience to the customer and to your client, if you're managing properties, then the money will follow from that. But you need to have that correct values and belief in those as well for it all to be a full round circle.
Understood. And that's a great point, because the reality is there are a lot of different ways, even in short-term rentals, that you can get to that target income, right? If you want to be incredibly active and involved, maybe let's just say your target income is 150K. I'm just making a number up, not your, but someone listening, 150K. You can get to that 150K with, 3 ultra luxury properties and hands-on concierge service and direct bookings and, and really building a full-time business for yourself. If you want that 150K and you want to have more of a passive income in a different type of locale, you're going to have a totally different approach with a different number of properties, right? And so that's a great advice to start with your target and work backwards. Your target, shape it with your lifestyle and work backwards from there, because it's going to have a very, very different set of inputs that are required from you to hit that output,
Yes.
Yeah. So now now let's talking about getting to those targets and getting to your goals. At Futurestay, we believe in what's called 6-minute missions. And what that means is we help our customers, rentalpreneurs around the world, build good habits as a rentalpreneur by spending time every day or week doing things that move them closer to their goals. That could be setting up a website, connecting it to Google Vacation Rentals, automatically optimizing their prices using smart rates and so on, just turning those things into 6-minute bite-sized tasks so they can keep progressing towards financial independence. You've been a rentalpreneur for some years now, and you've guided others. You've built a successful business. What is a 6-minute habit that you believe every rentalpreneur should do? It could be every day, it could be every week, it could be every month, but a 6-minute thing that you think that they should do to help get closer to their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. I personally think one of the biggest things for short-term rentals is reviews, and that to me is like the heart of the business. So because the customers are the people that are staying in the properties and that are generating you the income, your clients' income, and then obviously you might be earning off your clients then to manage the properties. So the biggest thing that I would recommend for a 6-minute mission is to look at your reviews on a daily basis, just for 6 minutes daily, even doing that on a daily basis. Check your reviews, and then if it's even a 4-star review and they've left you no feedback, because that always can happen, contact that customer and say, why is it a 4-star instead of a 5-star? I appreciate you staying, etc. Just would like some feedback so we can get it to a 5-star next time. We appreciate any feedback possible, that be appreciated. So then you can actually get some feedback, and then you can relay that to your client if you're managing it, or if it's your own property, then you can look to put things in place afterwards. So, and sometimes it can be such small reasons which you've never thought about. As you were just saying earlier, where do I put my suitcase? Somebody might literally have knocked you down because they didn't have, or even you're saying there's no spatulas or something like that, or one of my first ever reviews, somebody said there was no egg cup holders.
Wow.
For like, yeah. So exactly.
I don't have any of those either, but okay.
And then and that was more of a countryside holiday let. So I don't know. I always made sure all of those countryside holiday lets have egg cup holders.
You never know what is going to be the difference, and that's right. If you get on the phone and you follow up, especially on those no comment reviews, that'll give you the ability to get 6 minutes closer and closer and closer to a perfect experience for your ideal guest.
Yeah.
Every week. So that's great advice. Josh, thank you so much for sharing your rentalpreneur journey with everyone listening and with me. I appreciate that, and it was good to get to know you a bit. This is a classic rentalpreneur story, right? Josh, literally, just like many of us, saw an opportunity and he seized it and he didn't look back. And he's built a successful business as a rentalpreneur. And I think his story is completely inspiring. You know, Josh didn't have a ton of experience in that, and he said, I'm going to go for it. He used his skills and he used his determination and his gumption, and he made it happen. And now he's helping others. Josh, I got to say, I'm really so happy that we got to spend some time today. Anyone listening, somewhere here, I don't know which direction from my post, you'll see a link. And if you were as inspired by Josh's story as I am, feel free to click that link and vote for Josh for the Rentalpreneur Award of the Year from the Shorties. Josh, thank you again for attending and being with us today. One last question for you. If anyone here wants to get in touch with you and learn more about you or potentially work with you, how would they contact you?
Yeah, best place is on probably Instagram. It's _Josh_guest_. So nice and simple.
All right, awesome. And if you want to hear more about rentalpreneur journeys or Futurestay or myself, you can find me at futurestay.com or follow this podcast. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Josh, for being a part of it.
Thanks, Philip.